Growing up without our parents was a rough experience. But the worst happened when my brother got into drugs.
He spent all our savings to purchase drugs,
Isolated himself from his family members, and spent most of his time with his friends.
I need high as a day like this.
He got into many drugs from pills to weed, syrup, and he injected himself. He became very violent and got into trouble. He spent days outside without coming home. The drugs began to eat him gradually. It was painful seeing him lose his mind, but it was more painful when we lost him forever.
Stay safe, don't do drugs. This is Narco Tales. Welcome to Narco Tales, where the battle scars of substance dependence become badges of honor. I am Netta, and I'll be sharing the unflinching stories of those who have faced their demons and emerged victorious.
Please pay attention. It starts from the foundation. Everybody needs somebody. You turn a blind eye and care nothing less. Say it's just business, all about the money. You are so unbothered as long as they pay. Say it's just business, all about the money. You know they're on a fast lane, but you've got business to run. So you look away the other way.
It concerns you. It a kill law, it a kill dreams. It a land people for jail. War against drug abuse.
Today, our guest shares his personal story on substance dependence. In this episode, he's taking us back to the beginning when substance dependence was a choice and not a habit. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Please briefly introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Ibrahim Musakuru. I'm from Borno State. I am 36 years old. I was born in January 1988. I come from a family of 7, a humble family and hardworking parents. Both were working. I was born in Lagos. So that's pretty much where I am.
Okay, so let's get into your story.
Okay. So my story about addiction, it pretty much started, let's say, if you were born in the 90s or the late 80s, you can testify that there were adverts then that attracted you to cigarettes. Like they had the best cigarette adverts. So it starts from there. The adverts were so attractive, like the music was there, the ambience and everything. So it was attractive to me, and born in Lagos, we usually go to the Lagos Country Club in the weekends for swimming and all that with my parents. So you see how openly the adults smoke, they drink. So it was something that looked really cool to me. So there was that thing in me then that I would love to try this, because how they blew out the cigarettes and everything looked really, really cool. So I had always thought in my mind that when I get to that stage, I will be that person. So anyway, moving forward, we moved to Kano from Lagos for a while. And while in Kano, due to change in environment, there was access to these things. Like in Lagos, they were controlled. But the difference between Lagos and Kano was that there they sell cigarettes everywhere, people smoke everywhere. And even with caution that our parents used to tell us then that people that smoke are armed robbers, this and that. But there was that curiosity. So I think I was in primary 4 when we decided one day with my friends that, okay, let's try a cigarette. We bought it for, I think, 1 naira 50 kobo or something like that. We bought it, went to the back of the school, lit, we choked. But it was a very nice experience, some way, somehow, in a twisted way. But went forward with that. After that, we occasionally used to roll up papers. You know, there are straws that you get in the bush or anywhere on the road. That one too, you perforate, then we light that too. So it was just the feeling of holding something and it's burning and you're blowing smoke out of your mouth. So after that, I went to a boarding school, federal government boarding school, and I was exposed to a lot of different cultures, different people, different backgrounds. So I saw a lot of stuff there, which I learned from them. I learned from my seniors, because basically I was even staying with my classmates while I was there. I was staying with my seniors, so I saw them doing a lot. Although they didn't allow me to do it then, but as soon as I left boarding school in GS2 and moved to a day school inside Abuja, I had that freedom. So we started smoking cigarettes regularly, every day, or 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
So from then we moved on. By the time we got to our GSS3, we had that period between your GSE. Yes, that period we decided to try cannabis. So yeah, we've watched movies, we've seen, and we've heard stories about how amazing it was. So we decided to try it out. So we tried cannabis by chewing. That was the first experience. We bought 50 naira, then we shared 4 of us, we chewed. And believe me, to date, I don't know if I'll say the most amazing experience, but it was really, really amazing, because the trip was out of this world. It was the best experience when it comes to my substance usage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I chewing for some few weeks. Then one day we're like, okay, why are we chewing this when everybody's smoking it? Let's try it out. So we rolled it and we lit, and it was even better. It was even better than chewing. Yeah. So we had so much fun. It was so much fun. We started going swimming in different hotels where we can smoke our cannabis. Then we involved alcohol. By the time I was in my SS2, we introduced other substances, which are like codeine and rofinol. So that wasn't enough. That was like our body's telling us that the cannabis is not enough. We need more. Let's try the next best thing. So we moved on to codeine and rofinol, which was a real trip. And that sustained us. And during that period, we're all active. Active in the sense that our academics were good. And I was an athlete in school. I played basketball. So nobody really suspected, unless the occasional eating too much, because smoking cannabis gives you a lot of appetite. So sometimes I eat double or triple the portion. And that is strange at home. Then maybe sleeping too much. But besides that, the grades were good. I was still an athlete. I was active. Then occasionally staying late at night. My parents were the type that they don't really stress you out, or they are not the type that would, let me say, discipline you or restrict you.
Strict.
Yeah, they were not strict. There was less restriction in my house, but we had our values and principles. My dad believes like you should learn from your mistakes. And you should try things out. If you're going astray and he sees, he would caution you. But he wouldn't really say anything. So I could actually stay out late, some way, somehow. Or even if they locked the door, I know how to sneak out of the house. So before I finished secondary school, I was actively doing the whole Abuja nightlife thing. I was clubbing like every weekend. This wasn't something that I'll tell you that once in a while. No. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm out of the house at night. So I was living like I was actually in the university, because I had access to a vehicle. I had, somehow we had money. I can't say how we got it, but we had money then. But we were very active in the nightlife. So we got introduced to a lot of stuff. So immediately after secondary school, I got admission into University of Jos, which I was preparing to go to. Then my admission came out in Malaysia. So due to my good grades and my zeal then, I was to go to Malaysia to study software engineering. So before I left for Malaysia, I got to try something else, which is cocaine. So there was a friend that came to the house. We were supposed to go out. He told us, okay, let's drive to Asokoro and pick something up. We picked it up. I was used to the weed, codeine, rofinol, and he said, let's just try it. Okay, we are partying, you are going, you are leaving the country. Let's just do this. It will be memorable. So that was the beginning of the end, I think.
That's a very interesting story. Before you go on, We'll be right back, but first, let's go on a short break. Ibrahim's story is just beginning, and the road ahead will be fraught with challenges and struggles.
I was the head boy in my primary school, senior prefect and best graduating student in my secondary school, but drug abuse almost ruined my life.
I was on an average of 2 grams of cocaine per day.
I was taking 8 ampoules of pentazosine daily.
European shisha, cocaine.
I became a user, a dealer, and a gangster.
I saw other users drowning. I knew I didn't want to be like them, but I was already trapped.
My family disowned me.
My employment was terminated.
I sold my car, sold my house. I'll go out well-dressed and return shoeless, shirtless in exchange for drugs.
I was seeing things that were not real, and I once stabbed myself because I felt something crawling under my skin.
I contacted NDLEA and started therapy.
I spent 3 months in therapy.
I spent 8 months.
It's easy to relapse, but your mind has to be stronger than the cravings.
Drugs does not love you. You are not the one using drugs. Drugs are the one using you. Say no to drug abuse.
Welcome back to Narco Tales. Ibrahim was just beginning to open up about his story on substance dependence. Let's continue this conversation. Please go on.
Okay, so at this part of my life, that was when things got more interesting because I left this country. I left my parents, my family to a foreign land, and I was introduced to a cocktail of different drugs because there was access to it then. So before leaving, I had already tried cocaine, which I liked at that point. So by the time I got there, I already knew what cocaine was, but I did not know what was crystal meth, MDMA, which are, ecstasy pills and all that. So when we got there, we were introduced to these drugs, which were party drugs. And I loved party at that point. So I thought I could sustain being a student, especially an engineering student, and partying at the same time. Because instead of 3 days a week, I was partying 5-6 days a week. So that's how it went on for my first year through my second year. By my second year, I was lagging behind in school. That was when I knew there was a problem in my education because from being able to manage to go to classes, I stopped going entirely and sometimes for weeks. But the drug use got more serious, and some way, somehow, I chose my drug of choice because I tried methamphetamine, which I did not like at my first try. So immediately I dropped that part. But when it came to cocaine and ecstasy, it was regular because one kept me partying and one kept me awake during the day. So I'll do ecstasy at night, party with alcohol, then in the morning I'll take cocaine to sustain me throughout the day. So that went on till I could not cope with school at all, and it led to me dropping out of school and subsequently coming back to Nigeria in 2011. So for my early days of use, those were my early days. And when I came back to Nigeria, rather than composing and rehabilitation, my parents still thought, okay, this is not serious enough at that point, because one thing is that they didn't really know the extent of my drug use. So when I came back, it was like, okay, pick yourself up, think about what you want to do, if you want to go to school or not, if you want to do something else. I was like, fine. Anyways, I continued using, but it was minimally then. Then it was just cannabis and alcohol, then occasionally, because I didn't really used to go out then, but occasionally I still did cocaine. So that went on for some years till a friend came back from the UK. A friend came back from the UK, and meanwhile, I was using powdered cocaine, which is just the regular one. And when he came back, he introduced me to crack cocaine, which is a step further. And unfortunately for me, I tried it and I liked it the first day. And one thing about crack cocaine you need to know is that it would take you away from every other drug. Because immediately I started using crack cocaine, I stopped using powdered cocaine, I stopped using even cannabis. I didn't even really like it. Because that was my best thing, because before I sleep, before I eat, before I do anything, I used to smoke cannabis. But I found myself drawn closer to crack cocaine. So that was where the serious addiction really started for me and the serious challenges in life. And I struggled through cocaine addiction for some years, almost a decade. But today, I'm done with it.
That's good.
And I'm here, yeah.
That was a really powerful story. But before we let you go, I have just one question for you. So how did your relationships with family and friends change during the early days of your substance dependence?
Like I said earlier, during the early days when I started, it was not a problem because I was very active and I was doing the right thing at the right time. So the results were there, I was an athlete. But when it got to the part of dropping out of school, I disappointed a lot of people, especially my parents and my siblings, because my house were big on education. That's one thing about my family. So I disappointed them and there was loss of trust, but still, they still supported me after that.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for sharing your story with us today. We've only scratched the surface of your journey and we're excited to continue in future episodes. Stay tuned for more of Ibrahim's story as he navigates the darkest moments of his substance dependence and finds the strength to recover. I remain your host, Netta.
Don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't try it though. He go choke you, he go steal your sunshine, he go shock you, he don't kill him any youth for my area, even for your area. When you start it to stop, it not go easy. As you dey drag am go, he dey drag you down. Water come out from my eyes, oh, when I remember all the guys, oh, where many of them kiki bucket, oh, some cut to socket, oh, make we don't forget, oh, no they talk it, oh, say, don't do drugs, rock up you see body, oh, don't go wound your busy body. If you die, you go sad, oh. Oh yeah, help me tell somebody. Say, rock up you see body, oh. Body, oh. Body, oh.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.